Hello, this is GM Car Reviewer here today with the 2013 Chevrolet Sonic. I know it's been a long time since I made my last video, about a year or so, but I figured I'd get back into the car video making business with this little beauty here. This car is a very entry-level segment for GM's offerings. Price in the mid 10,000 range base, and it's a solid little car. Some people have criticized it for just being in the same competition as the Cruze. I mean, this is definitely a smaller car than the Cruze, but I would say they're different price segments. This is a very entry-level car with great gas mileage, and just if people are looking for something that's economical and just generally is reliable too. For this car right here, so far we have had an average of 37 miles per gallon in the highway, in city, and about 42 on the highway. I'd say it's somewhat around the EPA estimates. I'm not exactly sure what they are at this point. But this model we have right here is a Sonic LT version. It's a mid-range, ahead of the LS and below the LTZ. This is a turbo version of the engine, a 1.6 liter. Lower on, I believe, the 1.8 standard version. But since it is like a smaller engine, it does get better gas mileage than the 1.8 because of the turbos built into it, and it does have, I believe, 20 more horsepower. So this specific model right here has aluminum alloy rims. I don't know, on it, and also it has pretty much like most of the mid-range options you find in a car like this. For example, it comes with the key fob. We'll start with that. It has the unlock, lock, the trunk open button, the remote start, and the horn button. All pretty much standard in most cars you find nowadays, at least in the mid-range section, lower range. We'll look in the trunk to begin with. Inside the trunk, it's actually very large for a car this size. From the outside, it looks really small. Not very much room on the outside. And once you get inside, it's enough, I'd say, for a couple large suitcases. It's pretty deep, and it looks like they have the spare tire underneath there too. But just the size of it itself is relatively surprisingly large. Haven't had that much trouble trying to fit anything in here. It's easy to close, works well. And once we'll start inside the car right now. Once you get on the inside of the car, you'll notice that in the driver's side door there is the window controls and the mirror controls for left and right mirrors of power. This car right here does not have the power seat options, but the controls they have for it work just fine as they are. It has a lever down here that lets you control the seat sliding back and forth. It works very well. Once you get inside the car though, you'll notice that the console is different from what you see in most other models. This one has a tachometer next to a little LCD screen that does show all the facts and everything about the car. This car we have right here, I'd say let me see how much mileage it has on it. I believe about 8,876 miles, and it's done very well for that mileage. Haven't had any problems with it. It's worked pretty much beautifully. It also has all the little warning lights and blinkers and everything right in here in the gauge. You can't miss them. All the warnings and those little holes right there. And the steering wheel itself is pretty standard for GM. It has Bluetooth controls on it, the cruise control, volume, and yeah, nothing really surprising. It has two for controlling the blinkers, the high beams, lights. It has this knob. It has this lever right here, controlling the windshield wipers. Everything else is over here. Pretty standard. Now the audio system on this car, entertainment system, I don't know. Pretty much it's a very relatively simple layout. It has a volume knob right here, menu knob right here, all the different 6 layout buttons, very typical in the GM car they've had in the past years. Different types of input buttons like CD, radio, etc. Controls from down there. And also another thing about this car is the unlock button is actually in the middle. You've seen that a lot recently in GM models. This is the hazard lights, passenger airbag, and the HVAC is down here. This car, I'm not entirely sure if it comes standard with AC, but I know this model has it for sure and it works very well. Back window defroster, different controls, pretty much your standard HVAC. This car, one thing that's very nice about this car is it has tons of spots to put different items. It has little cubbies right here, a little bin up here, another cubby over here, a little cubby down here, and more little cubbies and cup holders right here. In fact, there's 3 cup holders right here in the middle of the car. This car also has a child safety lock right here instead of being in the door like a lot of other models. But GM has had this in the console area recently, at least they have. It has DC power right here, and it has stability traction control right there too. I believe this car comes standard with 11 airbags, I'm pretty sure. And it's a very safe model. Also, speaking of cubby holes, there's another cubby hole right here that you can put anything in. And also, this is where you find like the audio jack and the USB jack for connecting iPods or whatever we want, phones. And then here's another cubby hole. Just funny stuff. I know some cars recently have had those, but this one has one just like I'd say the average car. There's also holding areas down here, any door like you see. And there's lighting controls. The vents in this car are actually pretty unique in their own right, because compared to most other cars where it's just like you just twist, it's like square, these ones are circular and they actually have like a twisting knob. You've seen these, only place I think I've ever seen these in the past was in Pontiacs, which you know they aren't around anymore, but yeah. Okay, and use the parking brake right here, easy to grab position, no searching around for like some other cars. And that's about, I think, all I can say from up here. It does come standard with OnStar like any other GM car. And this is the driver's mirror. They both have one. And yeah, like I said earlier, we have an average of 37.4 miles per gallon driving around town. Let me see if I can pull up anything else. Oh. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but yeah. And yeah, and also the gas fuel gauge in this one is electronic. Right now we have about a little bit more than half a tank, not much. The one thing very nice about the car, which I really like, is the mile per gallon indicator is electronic. It helps eliminate any questionability you have about like a gauge type one, like a tachometer. Okay, and I guess we'll move back to the car and look around back there, and then I'll show you an example of the car running and what it sounds like. Okay, this is the back seat. For being such a small car, it does have a decent amount of room back here. The windows do almost fully go down, which is another pretty interesting thing because a lot of small cars, they don't do that. And also in the back seat, these seats are all foldable down, and it's on the inside too, so you can just literally take the seat, pull it down, extend it, whatever you want to do. Got the archings in the trunk. Back seats do have headrests. One thing you do know in a lot of new cars. And this looks like seat and the safety seat like restrainers. Oh, also one thing I did miss is that the front seat does have an armrest that goes down, but the passenger seat does not. One thing I've not quite figured out yet. Yeah, I'm pretty big. I'm probably about 6 foot-ish, and I can fit in the back seat perfectly comfortable. Maybe a tiny bit smashed if you don't put the seat forward a little bit, but nothing ridiculous. Okay, I think let's do a quick walk around and then show you this what the engine sounds like, what it looks like. Yep, also the gas cap in this car is on the right side. This is one thing I'm not exactly sure why I do this. Most cars seems to be on the left side, but I don't know, it just gets confusing sometimes. Oh, also this car does have disc brakes in the front and drum brakes in the back, but I've found it to be very quick braking and quite extraordinarily so. Okay, we'll start it up and show you what it sounds like. Okay. Probably can't hear much, but it's a pretty quiet car. Oh, one other thing about how quiet it is in an expressway, this car is pretty quiet. It's actually impressive. You can have a normal conversation in this car with no problem at all when you're going down the road, anywhere. Certain different roads are more noisy, and that's how it is in all cars, but this one is extraordinarily quiet for its price range. Put it in the drive, actually, put it in the park, and just rev it a little bit. You hear that turbocharger in there. This car does actually have relatively high RPMs for a 4-cylinder. It goes up to about 6,500 before going to red range. But yeah, I'll pop the trunk and take a quick look at it. That's goofy. Okay. Apparently, I might have a fuse box. Hold on a second. I'm not gonna be able to see much for a quick second here. Okay. Inside here, they have the GM Ecotech engine, battery, coolant, And yep, windshield washing fluid's over there. As in most cars nowadays, it's very, very compact. There's not much you can do in here yourself, like without a little bit of guidance. One neat thing about this car is the air filter is an open sight, so you don't have to pull anything out to pull it out to replace it or anything, which is a pretty nice thing, because with some cars there is a dig around, it's a pain in the butt. But this one seems to work pretty well. Yep. Okay. Okay, it's all closed up. Get back in here and show you. Just, I don't know. Any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching my video today. This is GM Car Reviewer. Bye.